Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to the Mixed Metals Podcast. I'm not even sure what episode this is, but it has been a while. I had to kind of prepare myself for this upcoming season. At my job, it's going to be pretty busy for the next few weeks, up until the holidays, rather. Um, so I just kind of had to give me a little reset. Um, a lot has happened since we've been gone, but let's just get to what's like current. Let's get to the more current topics. All right. If I'm not mistaken, since we've last spoken, I think the 49ers had lost another game, but um, they're currently on a three-game winning streak. They have beaten the Jaguars. Uh, they just beat the Seahawks, and the week before that, uh, let's see, was it on Monday night? No, it wasn't on Monday night. So they had a bye the same week as the Jaguars. They beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville. They beat the Buccaneers. That's who I was missing. They beat the Bucks, and then this past Thursday, which was Thanksgiving, they beat the Seahawks in Seattle. So I think that I think that we got back on track. Still pushing for my Super Bowl picks before the season. Are still my Super Bowl picks. I think the Ravens and the 49ers in a rematch, in the Super Bowl rematch. And I think that it'll work out in the 49ers' favor this time. I believe that the Ravens kind of at times they play down to their competition, and I think that that would be dangerous with a San Francisco with this San Francisco team because there are weapons galore. I think that especially now, I think that now that Brock has gone through that like that rough patch, I think that he's more prepared than he's ever been to be a winner, to win those big time games, and I think that he will ultimately pull it out. Last I saw, the Raiders were up 14-0 on the Chiefs, but now with 7:08 left in the third, the Chiefs are up 21-14. So they had a 14-point second quarter and a 7-point third quarter so far. The Bills are currently up on the Eagles, which is kind of surprising for me because, well, surprising, but then again, not surprising because I think that the Eagles secondary is their weakness, and I think that if there's any quarterback that can exploit the that secondary with a big arm is Josh Allen. If you know whether you not like Josh Allen or not, he has the build of a great quarterback. A lot of people say that he is this generation's Brett Favre, and I can see that. I can see that Brett Favre threw damn near just as many touchdowns as he did interceptions, and that that's kind of the play loose and free style that Josh Allen plays, where he can have a game where he can throw four touchdowns, 350 yards, no picks, and he can also have a game where he fumbles twice, throws two picks, one touchdown, 150 yards. You know what I mean? You never know what you're gonna get out of Josh Allen, but I do think that the way that he plays can bode well with him against the Eagles. Uh, Another thing that's interesting about that is that it's in Philly, so I'm it's kind of unexpected at this point. You know what I mean? We never know what can happen. They still got another half to play. The Rams are up on the Cardinals 24-8 we just ended the third quarter in that game. The Browns are currently down with the ball, 12-17 against the Broncos with 38 seconds left in the third. DTR has thrown so far for 134 yards, one touchdown. Jerome Ford, 8 carries, 61 yards. Um, Matt Stafford in the other game, 220 yards, three touchdowns, one pick. Tutu Atwell, three receptions, 76 yards so far. Pat Mahomes, 191 yards, one touchdown. I can't wait to see the highlights for that game because I want to see what was up with that slow start. Devontae Adams, five receptions, 73 yards so far. Um, the early games, the Jaguars beat the Texans. Um, what is it? Matt? Amendola, I believe is his name, the kicker for the Texans, who said that he was on his couch when they called, because their like starting kicker is out with an injury. Um, he missed a 50-yarder right before halftime, I want to say. This is the game that I watched so far today, and I got the Eagles and the Bills on right now. Um, but the Texans, the kicker Amendola, he missed a 50-yarder, and it didn't seem that he had the distance, just in general, right before halftime. But the Texans, as they've been doing all season, scratched and clawed their way back. And because I think the Jaguars had a 10-point lead at one point. They brought it to within three, and it was a 56 or 58-yard field goal attempt, which was well beyond his career high, which was 49. And it hit the pole. So I just think if he would have put a little bit more, you know what I mean, on that, then we would be talking differently, especially me, because I had $300 riding on the game. I could have won $300. I only bet like $10 or something like that. Um, Back to the Thanksgiving games, the Packers beat the Lions, which was surprising. They were up 20-6 for the majority of the first half. I think it got up to 23-6, but the Lions scratched and clawed back. It seems like they like to have their backs against the wall. Jared Goff seems to activate when that happens. He wasn't doing too well before then, but he did end up with 332 yards, passing 2 touchdowns. The Cowboys smoked the Commanders 45-10, and as I previously stated, the 49ers beat the Seahawks in Seattle 31-13. Um, Patriots found another way to lose. They lost 7-10 against the Giants in a Super Bowl rematch. It seems that they are in a two-time Super Bowl rematch. Actually, it seems like the Giants are a thorn in the Patriots' side. I do believe that Mac Jones got benched at some point, pretty early, especially compared to any other of his previous benchings. Um, it was 12 of 21, 89 yards, 2 picks. I mean, that won't get it done. That may be the last. I'm thinking that may be the last time that Mac Jones starts in the NFL, or maybe not the NFL, but in the Patriots uniform. I think that he's at the end of his rope. Um, the Falcons did end up beating the Saints. Both teams are 5-6 now, and that division is up for grabs. Between those two teams mainly, the Buccaneers lost today. So yeah, I would say that the fight is going to come down to the Saints and the Falcons. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the last game of the season as well. Maybe. Uh, yeah, yeah. So it's at Saints. So that's going to be pretty interesting. That'll probably be the deciding game to see which team ends up making the playoffs. The Steelers did beat the Bengals today, 16-10. Kenny Pickett, 278 yards. I'm guessing no touchdowns. Najee Harris, 15 carries, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. Um, I'm pretty sure that the Bengals just had like a regular game, if you could say that. Jake Browning, 19 for 26, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Joe Mixon, 8 carries for 16 yards. That is awful. Jamar Chase, 4 receptions, 81 yards, no touchdowns. It's just weird to not see Jamar Chase in the end zone. The Titans did end up beating the Panthers, which is expected. The Panthers might end up getting the number one pick all over again, which would give the Bears the number one pick all over again. Um, I think I mentioned it, but the Colts beat the Buccaneers. Gardner Minshew did have a rushing touchdown as well, I'm pretty sure, but he had 251 yards passing with 1 pick. And the night game is the Ravens at the Chargers. I think that the way that the Chargers defense has been playing this season, I think that this is a recipe for disaster as far as the what the score could end up being. I think that the Ravens are going to cook them offensively, and I don't think that Justin Herbert is prepared for this Ravens defense. I think that in my opinion, it's going to be I think that the Ravens are going to handle this game, pretty early. I think that they're going to get them out of here pretty early, even though that it is in LA. the two LA teams basically have no home crowd because of like them moving from San Diego and St. Louis respectively to LA. I mean the home games end up being pretty much away games, like the Monday night Cowboys and Chargers game had mostly Cowboys fans in the stadium. We do know that the Cowboys fans travel well, but there's still no excuse for that. On to the NBA. At the moment, the Trailblazers are down 4 to the Bucks with 5.8 left. The Bucks will probably end up winning that one. The Suns are up by 10 on the Knicks without KD. KD did not start today. He has a foot issue, I believe. 4:46 left in the first there. The Timberwolves, which they've been playing pretty well lately. They are up by 4 on the Grizzlies. The Raptors and the Cavs play at 7:30. Celtics, who I think just lost to the Nets recently, are up on the Hawks 22-17, 3:37 left in the first. Hornets are up 5 on the Magic. That's a trash game. 2 minutes 44 left in the first. Bulls at the Nets. The Bulls have been playing awful this season. I we said it on previous episodes. It has been time for that to for them to blow that up. And I think that I do think that they are already at the point of no return, but I think that now is starting to have like a negative effect on them. You know what I mean? Spurs play the Nuggets tonight at 8. Spurs are on an 11-game losing streak, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think Jamal Murray will be back for the Nuggets tonight. I think we're still a couple weeks out from that. Um, Speaking of injuries, Porzingis appears to be injured. He has a calf strain and he will be reevaluated in a week. Some pretty weird stuff going on with Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey, an Australian player for the Thunder. He is 21, and he's been accused of having an inappropriate relationship, which a relationship at all, with a 16-year-old high school student. Of course, he hasn't commented so far. He has been pretty mum on the allegations, and so has the coach. As far as when the reporters asked for comment, he said, "I understand the question, obviously, but there's no further comment right now." Um, and the coach was pretty much in the same vein. He said, "Personal matter, I have no comment on it, and that'll be my comment on anything related." So he tried to kind of cover all his tracks. Um, Josh Giddey is having a pretty good season. He's averaging 12.3 points, 5.7 rebounds, 4.5 assists per game. Um, if he was to have to be off the team, I think that would be pretty devastating for the Thunder. But you gotta live right, and those professional leagues, you got a lot of eyes on you, whether you know it or not, whether you realize it or not, and whether you want to accept that or not. There are a lot of eyes on you, and that's the same thing with Kevin Porter Jr. Not knowing, you know what I mean, the league that he's in, or seemingly not acknowledging the league that he's in, and you can't put your hands on women. And of course, the allegations are trying to get pulled back more recently, but I think that ship has sailed, and I don't know if we will ever see that young man in the NBA again. And he had a promising career as well. You just can't, you got to live right. In those you got to live right in general. I believe in living right. Just you know, be good to people, and reap the rewards that come to you. And sometimes there aren't rewards, but just I just believe in living right. Um, a lot of good games in college yesterday. Ohio State did end up losing. Ohio State is one of the teams that I like. They lost to Michigan for the third straight year. Um, and I think that that's the last game that John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh has to miss as far as his punishment. So he will be back for most likely their championship game and their is looking like their playoff game. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State 17-7. They finished their season at 10-2. The only two losses that they had were to Alabama and Georgia. So I think that they will get a lot of consideration for one of the New Year's Six games. Oregon did beat Oregon State 31-7. Texas hammered Texas Tech 57-7. Any more playoff implications? Georgia uh, squeezed by on Georgia Tech 31-23. That was a hell of a game. The Michigan score was 30-24. I'm sorry. Um, it was tooth and nail with Washington and Washington State, but Washington did come out on top 24-21. Same thing with Florida and Florida State. I want to say Florida had a lead for a lot of the game, but Florida State did end up pulling away 24-15. Alabama, I want to, it may have been about 33 seconds left, fourth and forever, fourth and 31, actually. Jalen Milroe threw a dime to Isaiah Bond. Um, so if Alabama, Alabama did end up winning the Iron Bowl, this year's Iron Bowl for the fourth straight in the series, I believe. Um, and something kind of unrelated, this is the last time that we will see the SEC on CBS, at least for the time being. I think that with the new teams coming in to the SEC, they signed a new deal with ESPN. So the Longhorn Nation will go away, but the SEC will be hosted. All their big games will probably be hosted moving forward on ESPN. Um, and Jalen Milroe played brilliantly. He had 259 yards, two touchdowns in the air, 18 carries, 107 yards on the ground. He was the leading passer, obviously, and the leading rusher. Um, Kentucky upset Louisville, which is interesting. That would pretty much take away Louisville's opportunity to make the college football playoff. Um, but next season, they if they have their same record, I think that I like their chances. LSU pulled away from Texas A&M. Jaden Daniels had another brilliant game. Um, 42-30 for that game. Let's look at his stats. Jaden Daniels, 16 of 24, 235 yards, 4 touchdowns, 11 carries, 120 yards. Just Jaden Daniels being Jaden Daniels. Um, as far as playoff implications, I think that's pretty much it. I'll run through a couple more. Clemson did beat South Carolina 16-7. Uh, North Carolina lost. I don't know how many straight or how many. Like I know overall it's their fourth loss, but they fell apart towards the end of the season. They lost to NC State 39-20. Tennessee doubled up on Vanderbilt 48-24. Oklahoma State did beat BYU. I want to say that was another one of those games where the underdog was up for a lot of the game. Kansas State got upset by Iowa State 42-35. Notre Dame beat Stanford 56-23. Arizona, who was a surprise team this season because I want to say they started out unranked and are now number 15, 59-23 over Arizona State. I think that pretty much covers the weekend, but there were some very, very exciting games, exciting endings um, to a lot of those games. Rivalry week is always it's expect the unexpected. Um, let's see. So where we are now, as far as the playoffs, playoff implications, and these things. I pulled up the playoff machine on ESPN just to have a little fun. Right now they have the Jags at the first seed, the Dolphins at second seed, Ravens at third, fourth is Kansas City, fifth is Cleveland, sixth is Pittsburgh, and seventh is Indianapolis, which is interesting. I don't know that I see Indianapolis overcoming the Texans this season. I think that the Texans are the second best team in that division, if not first. Um, they did lose today to the Jaguars, but I mean they split their season series. So I don't feel like whatever you can say about the Jaguars, I feel like you can say the same thing about the Texans. I think CJ Stroud has been playing out of his mind so far this season, and I think that will continue. Um, they got Philly as the first seed over in the NFC, San Francisco, second seed at with uh, against a 7 seeded Seattle, 4 seed Atlanta, which would be super unfair for the Cowboys, which are the 5th seed in this projection. 3rd seed is Detroit, um, and the 6th seed would be Minnesota at Detroit. So in that scenario, we would have two interdivision games, which would be pretty interesting. But I do think that I see the Eagles losing at least two more games. I don't think that they will win today. And me being biased, of course, I don't think that they will win next week um, against the 49ers. I know that both games are at home for them, but I just don't see it happening. If I'm not mistaken, oh, yeah, the score is still 17-7. They just missed a field goal. The Buffalo kicker just missed a field goal wide right. Yep. Um, but I mean, they've been in control. The Eagles can't seem to score this game. So I just think that again that secondary is those blemishes get exposed later in the season and especially in the playoffs. When you have one team to focus on for a whole week and it's just you know no nothing else matters. There are no other implications on this game. It's just you and that other team. I think that the Eagles will be exposed as far as the secondary goes. And of course, I'm pretty sure people have been saying that either all season or for the past 2 seasons. But I just think that this is the year that they come up short in the playoffs. And that pretty much wraps it up. As far as hockey goes, my Red Wings are 10-6 at the moment. I think they have a game today. Pretty sure they have a game today. And not a lot of news otherwise. So I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thank you for your time and peace.